Hi, I'm Will, and this is the 31 Days of Lifetime, a sort of advent calendar for runners-up from the Glee Project. I've made it my mission to watch every single offering in Lifetime's 2020 holiday catalog, but I won't be doing it alone. Each day I'll be joined by a special guest or guests that will help me dig in to these instant Christmas classics. Today, I am joined by the loves of my lifetime, Jacob Lang and Baily Fritz.
Happy
Hanukkah!
Happy Hanukkah, Jacob. Happy Hanukkah, Baily. We're going to be discussing the 22nd film in Lifetime's lineup, Christmas Ever After. Popular romance novelist Izzy Simmons spends every Christmas at her favorite snowy bed and breakfast. But this year, she's faced with an impending deadline and a severe case of writer's block. Luckily, inspiration strikes in the unlikely form of the B&B's new owner, Matt, who bears an uncanny resemblance to the handsome hero from Izzy's novels. As both partake in the lodge's annual itinerary of Christmas activities, Izzy's writer's block is cured, and the first pages of her and Matt's own love story may just be beginning. Christmas Ever After premiered on December 6th, and it stars Ali Stroker and Daniel D. Tomaso. Jacob, Baily, what are your relationships with Lifetime original programming?
I spent a whole week watching Lifetime movies at the beginning of quarantine. Other than that, I don't really watch them.
I think the only time I've ever seen a Hallmark or a Lifetime Christmas film is when my grandparents have had it on at their house and I've just happened to be over. So this is the first one that I've actually sat down and watched.
What did you guys think of this title? Obviously, you had a few to choose from when you picked this one. What drew you to Christmas Ever After?
Honestly, Will, out of the ones that you had left for us, it was the one that sounded mildly interesting. So.
Wow, that says a lot about whatever we left, I suppose. Kind of a dull title for this movie?
A little bit.
I'll just say this. I think this might be my favorite one this year so far.
Yeah.
Was it a great movie? No. Obviously not. It was a Lifetime movie at its core.
It was incredible.
It was a good movie. And I thought, well, let's talk about the leads, because I think that is what really elevated this movie. I thought Alex Stroker was very good in this, very likable, and easily the most compelling leading lady we've had this year.
I agree. I think, though, the script being the way that it was did not do her as much justice as she deserves, you know? I think she's a great actress, but with just how the script is by itself, it kind of brought it down a few notches for me.
But I also think like Lifetime movies, like script-wise, this was probably one of the better scripts that I've seen. I haven't watched a lot of Christmas movies, but a lot of like other Lifetime movies, and this was much better.
Yeah.
I think something that they're aiming for this year is the inclusive casting. This weekend we have this one, and then the next weekend I'm watching the first gay Lifetime movie, and then also the first movie with an all-Asian cast. And based on the trailers for those movies, it seems like they're not going to acknowledge the fact that they're different at all, which is fine, but I think it was nice that there were touches of like, yes, we realize that this is a leading lady who's in a wheelchair, and it's not like a joke at all, but they have points and they bring it up of how that is something that she probably does have to talk about when she's meeting a new guy. What do we think of that new guy? I forget what his character's name was. Oh, Matt, right?
But you may recognize him from the Netflix original, Ratched.
Yes, I did see that on his IMDb.
No, as soon as he popped up, I was like, he looks so familiar. So I then had to Google him. But when you Google this movie, you don't get this cast all the time.
I'm sure there is more than one movie called Christmas Ever After.
No, but you still get the Kelly Rowland and the Betty White, who are not in this movie, but are advertised as being in this movie.
And
That's
Mario
so
Lopez.
Weird. I wonder why this one is the one that has all of them popping up, because I'm sure there was a Betty White movie that was scrapped because of COVID. They didn't want her risking her life filming this Christmas movie. But yeah, I wonder why this is the one that all of the stars are in, because all their commercials before the holidays had Ali Stroker, Mario Lopez, Melissa Joan Hart, not Betty White because she didn't end up being in one, and then Kelly Rowland were like the stars they were hanging their hats on, and Fran Drescher.
Back to Matt. I think he's so handsome.
I don't think he does a wonderful job of renovating the lodge. I think the lodge should be how it was.
Yeah, well, he locks them in a room right away. I don't know what really he does other than hang up some lights, and that's not a renovation.
And even hanging up the lights, he needs help from other people to do it too.
He did put baby powder in the floorboards.
Oh, that's true.
That is kind of the only thing that they're like, yeah, he did that. Speaking of jobs, you know, I think the expectations have been blown away this year with the female lead actually keeping her job at the end of these movies, especially like in this back half of movies. I was super happy that it was like everything was connected in a way that didn't feel like you have to choose, will you write about this man or will you be with this man? I think that's why I liked this one, is just a lot of it felt very happy in terms of none of it made me feel like, oh. So we've talked about our two leads. Did you feel like they had chemistry?
Yeah, kind of. They could have had more.
I think they did, but when it came to like the contrived romantic parts is where it like fell short.
The kiss was lackluster.
I have a lot to say about these kisses. Why are they blocked?
I think these movies are rated G, which is why we can't have like
But a kiss?
actual kisses.
I was waiting for such a passionate kiss.
The shot was so weird. They're going in, you're like, this is finally happening, and then all of a sudden it's just like all her hair. Just that's all you see is her hair.
But yeah, it was not a great kiss, especially because this was a romance that I felt invested in because I liked both of these characters and actors. What did you guys think of the supporting cast?
Get rid of that one girl that's on the council.
Rachel, Jessica,
Oh, I thought
Jennifer.
His daughter.
Oh no, I
was
want
like, damn.
her. No, get rid of the
Jennifer.
other Jennifer, Bob, George. I don't care what her name is. Get rid of her.
Conflict girl. That's all she was there for.
Mhm. I like the editor. I thought she did a good job.
She's definitely
I
one of the better like friend, voice of reason characters.
yeah, I couldn't stand the grandpa.
I loved him.
Why do you feel that way, Bailey?
It's just a cute old man that's just running this lodge, and he really loves Christmas. And then, oh, he just cares so much about Izzy, and he's a wonderful grandfather, and he gives a lot of love to share.
I think the character was good, but the portrayal was not.
You just got to buy into it. It's Lifetime. It's not Broadway.
Child actor watch. I think the child was good. I think it struggles with the same thing that some of these other movies do, which is they cast an older kid as someone who seems like, based on what she's saying, should be younger. Like the story she writes feels really young.
As someone who works with children, I would say her writing sounded like an 8-year-old. The way she looks like easily 12, maybe 13.
What were some standout scenes to you guys?
One of the first things that I wrote is just overall, like talking about these Lifetime and Hallmark films. Why are they all about romance? I feel like you can have a Christmas movie that doesn't deal with two people getting together.
But then what is it about? A person dies?
Well, no, it could be about like fixing up the lodge. In this movie, I think the romance works because of her job. Everything ties together well in this one. Other ones, it's like, I don't understand why that's the main thing. Especially in 2020. It's like, that doesn't track.
That's like what the people that usually watch Lifetime movies are looking for.
But again, like the ones that aren't Christmas movies are always about murder.
My standout scene is when Izzy tells us that she's been going to the lodge for 9 years, ever since her parents, moved to Florida. Not that they died, they just moved to Florida, and she doesn't spend Christmas with them anymore.
Yeah, Baily.
Yes.
What did you think about Matt's sister and her wife?
Oh my God, when she said, "Oh, my wife," I screamed.
Did we ever see her wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And picked up the kids from the cookie shop, and we saw her putting up the Christmas lights, and I think she was there for other stuff too.
Yeah, the sister was someone that I forgot she was a character until every time she came on screen.
Well, she wasn't really important.
No.
Before we had found out that his wife was the original artist, it clicked for me as soon as the editor called and was like, oh, the original artist died a couple years ago. I was like, it's the wife.
Now, did you guys like that was the path they went, or would you rather it have been a kind of Christmas magic?
I personally thought it was fine. The parts that were weird about it for me was why it was such a big deal for him to tell her that was his wife. Did it make sense to either of you?
I mean, I think it needed to be that big of a deal, but also I've never been married to someone, had a kid, they die, and then I have a crush on someone who my wife somehow worked with. So I don't know.
For me, it was just a little too much of like, if you just tell her, then you can both talk about it and figure it out,
Yeah, I get it from a baggage point of view of like he needed to say that to officially move on.
I'm glad it was something like this rather than like Christmas magic. This still felt like magic. It felt like the Fates. I enjoyed it.
I have a little game for you guys.
Oh, no.
So we're gonna play a game. We're gonna pretend that you guys are executive producers for this movie. You get to make one change. It could be casting, it could be writing, it could be setting, costumes, whatever you want to do. But that one change, in your opinion, has to drastically improve the movie.
Can it be that we don't care if we have a G rating? We go ahead and we make it PG-13. We get some steamy romance going on. We get to see the kiss. Maybe we see a little tongue action. And maybe they actually will interlace their fingers rather than holding hands like this.
Right, well, there's Baily's change. I think that that's a good change. I think that would have upped the stakes, for sure.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing for me is to just cut Jennifer. That's her name, right?
I have no idea. I'll throw a picture of her up right here.
She just added nothing. Literally nothing. There was a little bit of conflict because she thought that, Jennifer and Matt liked each other. But other than that, if we didn't have that in the movie, it would have been no different.
I think those are both wonderful choices. I will say, if it were a competition, I would give it to Baily. Just because hot makeout session. Also, if she wasn't upset with him, she wouldn't have driven away and given us that really good scene in the car.
About that last scene, I was writing notes as I was watching it, and I was like screaming at the screen. I was like, Grandpa, tell your son to go and get her.
Yes,
and he didn't. And I thought I hated it. But I enjoyed the twist of Izzy being the one to make the decision to go back, and she was the one that took charge in the relationship.
And it was her own words that inspired her to. It wasn't even like the random friend being like, here's my advice. It was her being like, this is your own advice.
Take it.
Do it. So before we wrap up, I've got two little questions for you guys. I'm sure you're prepared to answer them. So Daniel D. Tommaso as Matt. On a scale from 1 to 10, how dateable is this character?
Oh, a 9.
Oh, Baily, I thought you were going to say 10, and I was going to agree with you.
I almost said 10, but then I was like, the child thing, for me, makes it a 9. But she seems
Doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd go with 10. The kid doesn't bother me at all.
Wow, incredible.
Do we get to rank Allie on
If you want to.
I would rank Allie a 7.
Wow, you really wanted to give her a worse score.
The romance novel writing is just too much for me. You'd have to live up to such a high standard all the time.
So the next question, who would you guys say is the MVP of this movie?
Allie Stroker, hands down. I mean, for me at least. When I saw that she was going to be in this film, I was very excited, and she did not disappoint.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going like out of all the characters, not just like supporting, I would say for sure Allie's definitely our MVP. And she is as equally as nice in person as she is in the movie. And I loved her on Glee Project, and I still love her.
She was on Glee Project?
Yes!
Yes, she was the runner-up. I love Allie Stroker. I never would have thought at the beginning of this series that we would have 2 MVPs in a row that are the leads. But we did, so...
Oh, yeah.
Kyla Pratt, Allie Stroker, good for you. Jacob Baily, where can people find you if they want to follow you this holiday season?
You can't, sorry.
Okay.
You can find me on a subway car, maybe crying. Yeah, you can also find me on my Instagram, I guess. BailyRenee05.
Wow. Thank you guys so much for being here today to talk about this incredible movie with me. And thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about The Santa Squad with Regan Pender. And every day this month to get into a different Christmas flick. If you had a holly jolly time watching this video, you can go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to follow me into my descent into lifetime madness, you can subscribe and press that little bell icon, because every time a bell rings, you'll get notified about a new video that I post. I'll see you next time. Merry Christmas.